In this segment, we explore the profound mystery of God's wisdom as it relates to the question of suffering. The inquiry into why God allows pain and suffering is central to the problem of evil, a theological and philosophical dilemma that challenges our understanding of how a loving, omnipotent God can coexist with the reality of suffering. This issue resonates deeply, impacting both believers and skeptics, particularly during times of personal hardship, loss, or illness. The mystery of God's wisdom. The problem of suffering cannot always be resolved through human reasoning. The book of Job serves as a profound illustration of the limitations of human understanding concerning suffering and divine purposes. Job, described as a righteous man, faces devastating loss, illness, and despair. Throughout his suffering, he poses desperate questions, seeking understanding from God. Yet, instead of providing straightforward answers, God responds with a series of questions that highlight the complexities of creation. Job 38-42. This divine dialogue emphasizes that God's wisdom transcends human comprehension, pointing to the mystery of his sovereignty. Trusting in God amid mystery. The climax of Job's story reveals that although he does not receive intellectual answers to his suffering, he finds profound peace in encountering God's presence. In Job 42 verse 5 he acknowledges, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." This transformative encounter shifts Job's perspective from demanding answers to trusting in God's wisdom, even when the reasons for suffering remain hidden. It reflects the reality that faith often involves accepting mystery, resting in the assurance that God's plans are beyond human understanding. Isaiah 55 verses 8-9. Suffering as an invitation to deeper faith. The narrative of Job suggests that suffering is not simply a punishment or something to be fully explained, rather, it serves as an opportunity to deepen one's trust in God. Job's experience aligns with the idea that faith matures through surrender and trust, particularly during times of uncertainty or pain. C.S. Lewis, in A Grief Observed, echoes this sentiment, noting that suffering often draws people closer to God, even as it challenges their previous understanding of Him. This dynamic of suffering as an invitation fosters a relationship built on intimacy and reliance, rather than merely on understanding. God's sovereignty and the bigger picture. The story of Job invites believers to embrace the reality that some aspects of God's wisdom and purposes will remain unknown. God's speeches in Job chapters 38-41 present a world filled with beauty, complexity, and danger, suggesting that His governance encompasses realities beyond human control or comprehension. This acknowledgement encourages humility and trust, recognizing that our knowledge is limited when confronted with God's infinite wisdom. It challenges us to consider that our suffering might play a role in a larger narrative that we cannot yet see. Finding meaning in mystery. While Job's questions remain unanswered, his encounter with God ultimately transforms his perspective. The book's conclusion serves as a poignant reminder that suffering may not always receive clear explanations. However, trust in God's wisdom provides a sense of peace. Theologian John Swinton, in Raging with Compassion, emphasizes that embracing the mystery of suffering invites believers to shift from asking why to where is God in this, encouraging them to find God's presence even amid unexplained pain. This shift is crucial, as it allows believers to focus on the relationship with God rather than solely on the suffering itself. Conclusion. The book of Job teaches that while believers may not always grasp the reasons behind suffering, they are called to trust in God's wisdom and sovereignty. This perspective acknowledges the mystery inherent in human suffering and invites believers to rest in the assurance that God's purposes, though often hidden, are ultimately good. Trusting in God's wisdom fosters resilience and peace, empowering believers to live by faith even when life's circumstances defy explanation. In embracing the mystery of suffering, we open ourselves to a deeper relationship with God, one that invites exploration and trust amid uncertainty. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the mystery of God's wisdom in the face of suffering. In our next segment, we will reflect on how these insights can transform our understanding of faith and resilience in times of hardship.